Hey everybody, Steve Bourie here from the American Casino Guide book. And today our video is called Sports Betting, How to Bet and How to Win. Today we're going to talk about sports betting, how to bet and how to win. And I'm going to interview Blair Rodman. He is a former professional poker player, he's an advantage casino gambler, and he also was a member of a professional sports betting team for many years, which saw a lot of success. So Blair's coming out with a new book called All About Sports Betting. So he's the perfect guy to answer a bunch of questions we have. I'm not a sports bettor myself, but Blair was able to put me in the right direction to answer all these questions. Now it's a complex subject, so we're going to break it down into two different videos. Here today in part one, I'm going to interview Blair about how to bet. So we're going to talk a little bit about the history of sports betting, how sports books make their money, and then we're going to talk about the various bets you can make. And then later we're going to do part two with Blair, where he tells us how to be a winner at sports betting. Hi everybody, Steve Bourie here from the American Casino Guide book. And today we're going to take a look at sports betting, and we are at the offices of Huntington Press in Las Vegas, and they're going to be coming out with a new book on sports betting, and we are sitting here with the author, Blair Rodman. Nice to see you, Blair.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, so Blair, I'm familiar with your book, Kill Phil, which is primarily a poker book. So your background is in poker, but also in sports betting, and perhaps you can explain to everyone how you got into this.
I got here in 1980. I've always gambled since I was a little kid. And when I came here, I started playing poker and progressed from that into, with Anthony Curtis, introduced me to Stanford One. We started playing casino tournaments, and we did that throughout the 80s. And then the casinos basically threw out all the good players. So one of the guys that I knew from sports said, I have a friend who's a high-level government programmer, and he thinks that he can beat the NBA. You want to help? I said, yeah, I need something to do. So we did that. So I did that for 10 years. We had probably the second biggest betting group in the country, and we were very successful, and I learned a lot. You know, I'd always bet sports, but then I learned what it was really about. And then that lasted about 2000. Then I went into poker, just as poker was becoming a big thing. Wrote Kill Phil. Did that pretty heavily throughout the 2000s. And then I kind of got burned out on poker, and I was focused more on sports. And Anthony Curtis came to me and wanted a book on basic sports betting after the Supreme Court overturned the PAPSA decision. I said, it's really needed. Can you write one? I said, sure. So I'm working on the book now. It's a couple of months out. It's going to be called All About Sports Betting, and I'm excited to get it out there. I've got the manuscript that just needs to go into production and be finished.
Okay, so sounds great. And now for people who aren't familiar, PASPA, we're going to give a little background on this. In May 2018, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled 6-3 to strike down the Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act, which is the PASPA you were referring to. And that law barred sports gambling with some exceptions. It made Nevada the only state where a person could wager on the results of a single game. So it overturned that and said you can have it in other states in the U.S. So now we're doing this in June 2019, and according to the ESPN website, which has information on sports betting, currently there are 8 states with legalized sports betting. 7 more have passed bills allowing it, but it's not yet in operation. And there are 29 other states that have introduced a bill to legalize sports betting, but they haven't passed it yet. So this is something that's going to be bigger and bigger in the United States. Now, unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately for you, I don't really know anything about sports betting. It's one area where I am very weak. The only story I could say about sports betting was I once had a girlfriend who thought she was a good sports bettor. So she followed sports betting, and she used to like to bet baseball. So I had a little interest in it. I followed what she did, and one time she bet 8 games and she lost every single game. So I know that's hard to do, but that's my only experience with sports betting because I never really bet sports myself. All right, so one thing I wanted to ask you was this PASPA, Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act of 1992, when they overturned that, how did that affect the world of sports betting?
It has opened up a huge opportunity, a huge can of worms. It's the response has been pretty amazing. But the way sports was in this country up until 1949, there was no legalized sports, so everything was bet through bookies. And in 1949, Nevada legalized sports betting, so books started up here. But they were a very, very small part of the, sports betting handle in the country. Most of it was still illegal. It's still mostly illegal because, only Nevada being legal, much of the betting was going to offshore illegal books. So the figures that I've seen is like Americans bet $150 billion on sports in a year, and maybe 5 million of that is Nevada. The rest of it is all illegal offshore betting. So what this law did, and what their goal is to repatriate the money that's going offshore, where there's no taxes paid, and it's basically, it's all cash, so they don't have any way to track it. They want to repatriate that money into the United States. They think it's going to happen, but it's all so new and so up in the air, and each state is making their own laws, and state legislatures, for the most part, don't know anything about gambling or sports betting. So they all think there's going to be this huge bonanza and everything, and they're all ripping and tearing, figuring out how much to tax and all this other stuff. But what they don't realize is there's a pretty small margin for sports books. Even with laying the 110 or whatever, they're not getting filthy rich, but they're grinding out their money on the juice. So it's going to take a while to play out before everything is understood. Now, the most progressive state is New Jersey, which was the state that originally challenged the PAPSA law. Through Chris Christie, it was his doing, and it wasn't the decision wasn't that sports betting was legal. It was that it became a states' rights issue. So each state makes their own regulations. They give their own licenses. They handle their own thing, and as of now, the states cannot be interconnected, so they're all on their own. So we're in this kind of wild, wild west situation right now, where nobody's sure what's going to happen. They want to get all this money back. There's a lot of factors that go into why they won't get it all, but they'll get some, and it's all in a state of flux right now.
Okay, so it could vary. So someone goes into a New Jersey sports book, it could be different than in a Mississippi sports
Absolutely.
book.
And the lines from the same company, like William Hill is a very big English sports betting company that has, I don't know, maybe 70 sports books in Nevada, and they're branching out to Mississippi, New Jersey, wherever they can, get their fingers in. But the line in Mississippi on, let's say, a Mississippi State football game is probably going to be different than the line is going to be in Nevada, because they know that the locals are going to bet that line. So instead of it being -2, they might make it -3, and people are going to bet it anyway. So that's a smart bookie at work, but that's kind of how it works.
All right, and then the basics for people, when we can explain, perhaps you can explain to them how the sports book makes their money, because it's different than like going in and playing a game of blackjack. It's different, and
it's different to a degree. There's, in blackjack, there's a built-in house edge, unless you're smart enough to overcome it. Same thing in sports. There's a built-in house edge, which is called the vigorish or juice or vig, which is how the house makes money. So if it's a game where it's evenly matched, two teams, and you would think they're evenly matched, and you and I want to make a bet, we'll say, let's make a $20 bet. And if you win, I'll give you $20. If you win, you give me $20. Well, the books don't do it that way, because they have to not only cover their expenses, but make money. So the traditional bookie model, when they started using point spreads, was the bettor has to put up $11 for every 10 he wants to win. That is the casino profit. Or if you want to talk about a money line, let's say a game is, there's not a point spread, but you think the team is favored is minus $1.70. So you would have to put up $17 to win 10. Or the underdog, the other team is plus $1.50. So you put up $10 to win 15. Now the difference between that and what, if it was a fair line, it would be $1.60 either way. So the difference between that is where the casino makes their money. Same thing on other offerings like parlay cards and things like that. They don't pay what the mathematical odds are. They pay less, and they take the difference. That's their profit margin.
All right, so now you've explained how the sports books make their money on the bets that they offer. Now, I've been in sports books. I'm not a big sports fan, but they are some of the most exciting places when you get a game there. That's just all these people rooting and screaming and yelling. It's a very exciting place and it's great. So there's a whole variety of bets you can make. So let's go over some examples of some of the bets you can make and explain how they're made, please. Okay. So we're going to start with an NFL line. So you see here. The first game is Thursday, September the 5th, 2019. And the game is 8:20. Now, next to that, you see GM number. That's the game number?
That is the game number, or they call it the rotation number. So almost all sports books will use those same numbers for those same teams because it makes it uniform and it's much easier for people to know what's going on.
Okay, and it's Green Bay at Chicago. Yes?
Yes. And the home team is always the bottom team or the even number.
Oh, an even number. Okay. And then opener. There's a 46. What is it, 46 or 45? No, 46. I'm getting old. My glasses need to adjust, right? 46 and 3.5.
Yes. And that's, I don't know where that opener exactly comes from, but that was basically the earliest lines that were put up. So those lines will start moving. You can see they're not the same at every casino. They're not greatly different, but Caesars has -4, South Point -3.5. The numbers on the screen are the favorite numbers. So there should be a minus in front of all these numbers. The next game, Minnesota 4.5, should be -4.5 on that team. You know, it's not always the home team. If you go down to Kansas City, they're a 4 or 5 point favorite on the road against Jacksonville. But the 5 is up across from Kansas City, which shows you who the favorite is.
Okay, so explain, please. So if I'm going in, it says now these are all in Las Vegas sports books. So if you go to a Caesars, and Caesars is any of the doesn't have to Caesars Palace, but it could be Caesars Entertainment, which owns all the Caesars properties. So you went to the Link or you went to Harrah's or one of the other Caesars properties, it's going to be the same number at all of the sports books. So now what does the 46 mean?
46 is the game total. Okay, so the other number is the game size. So Chicago's a 4-point favorite. The total is the total number of points scored in that game by both teams added together.
Okay, that's the under-over?
Yes.
What they call? All right, so now that one I know. Now, Chicago is favored, so you say these should be minus? This should be -4.
If there's a number up there, it denotates the favorite. So when there's a number there, it should be -4. It means they're a 4-point favorite.
All right, so according to this, you're either going to bet the under-over or you're going to give or take the points. If you bet Green Bay, you're taking points. If you bet Chicago, you're giving up 4 points.
Correct. So at the end of the game, you take whatever the score is. Let's say it's Green Bay 28 and Chicago 24. Okay, well, Green Bay won the game. They were getting 4 points. So it would actually be winning the bet by 8 points, which doesn't really matter. But let's say it was the other way, and Chicago was 28 and Green Bay was 24. Well, if it was a 4-point favorite, the bet would be a push and they would refund your money.
All right. So
now, but if you got a better number, if you got 3.5 at South Point, you would win. That's why getting the best number is very important for a sports bettor.
Okay, so some of them there is a half a point difference here. So if you wanted to bet on Green Bay, you'd probably want to go to one of the places where they're going to give you 4 points rather than 3.5.
Well, yes.
Yes.
If you're going to bet the dog, yes.
Okay. Now, so if you bet the under/over, well, let's say you want to bet Green Bay at Caesars, and so you're getting 4 points. So if you put up $100, you bet $100, how much will you win?
If you only put up $100, you win $91 and change. So this goes into how you would make a bet. And it's important to understand this because especially on a busy day, you know, you have the ticket writers who do everything on a computer now. You know, they used to write them by hand. That's what they're called, writers. But if it's a busy day, what you need to do, let's say you're at Caesars and you want to bet Chicago -4. You would go up to the window and you would give them the game number. I want the Chicago Bears game number 452 -4 to win $100 or for 110 because it's going to cost you 110 to win 100. Now I see this mistake all the time. People go up, I want Green Bay for 100. Well, the clerk, if he's not busy, is going to say, do you want to win 100? It'll be 110. Or do you want to bet 100? because you're not gonna get the full 100 back because you're laying the juice. So $100 at a minus 110 is gonna pay about $91 and change if you win. So when you if you want to bet to win $100, just say that. Say, I want Green Bay, the game number, Green Bay -4 to win $100. And you'll say that'll be $110. You give it to them. They give you a ticket. Don't lose the ticket because that's your receipt. And then if you win it, you bring the ticket back and they would give you $210 back. Your $110 plus your $100 profit.
All right, and in that same game, if you wanted to bet over, you would go. Now, how would you say that one? Because you have a game number 451, 452.
Right, and the totals are generally the over is the top number, the odd number. So if you walked up, you could say I want game 452 over. They would know what you're saying. But I usually say 451 over 46 to win $100 or whatever it is I want to bet.
Okay.
It's simple when you get the hang of it, but on a really busy day, if you just come up to a ticket writer, now if it's the big NFL game, they're gonna probably know what the game rotation is because that's how they punch it in a computer. But if it's like a college basketball day with 100 games, and you say I want Morehead State -4, they're gonna say give me a game number.
Yeah.
If they're not busy and they're nice, they'll look it up for you. But for the most part, they're gonna say what's the game number, which you should be prepared with.
So probably if you're a novice sports bettor, the most important thing would be to learn how to make this bet when you go up. One of the basics.
And most physical sports books will have, they call them betting sheets, where they'll list the lines and they'll list all the teams and the game numbers. So if you walk into a book, the first thing you should do is go find the betting sheet for the sport you're interested in. If it's NFL, find the NFL sheet. They'll have the morning line and everything listed. Now the lines won't be accurate, maybe, because they might have moved, but it will give you the teams, the game number, and you know what time it is, and then you walk up to saying, I want game number, blah, blah, blah. You have it right at your fingertips instead of, because I've done that, try to find them on the board when there's 100 games up there. It's almost impossible. So that's a better way to be prepared.
Okay, so again, so that was at Caesars. But if you went to, say, Coast, so all the Coast casinos, which is Gold Coast,
yeah, there's a lot of
Coast.
Yeah, yes. Orleans, I mean, there's millions. Yeah.
Right, and then stations would be like Sunset Station, Palace Station.
Yeah, Palms now, which has a good sports book.
And Green Valley Ranch, all the station properties. So again, no matter which one you're walking into, it's going to have the same line.
Most likely, if they're all in Las Vegas, yes.
Okay. All right, so in our NFL example, we did under-over, and we did the points.
Yes.
Taking or giving the points. Now, we didn't have any money lines. So what we have here now, and I should say, these lines were taken from, there's a website, Las Vegas Advisor. We're in their offices today here in Las Vegas, Huntington Press, and you put out these lines?
There is a service, and I think I need to get into explaining where this service came from. Because prior to like 1993, there was nobody knew what the other books' lines were. So it was a good time for bettors for the most part because you could find books with far different lines from each other. And in 1992 or 93, a service came out called the Don Best Sports Service. And what they do is they put out a grid like this with all the lines on as many casinos, and you can adjust which casinos you want or whatever. And when the lines move, it'll light up on the screen. So it was great for sports books because they knew what the lines were out there. And they also knew when it was getting hit with a big play, because the whole thing will turn black. You'll see every sports book move. So they know that's a big play. And it made it easier also for bettors because you have a place to look for discrepancies. One way that you can beat it is like trying to follow these major moves by big bettors. So when you see that screen light up and it goes from 3.5 to 4 everywhere, well, if you can find a sports book that's still 3.5, you're getting a great bet because you're getting the number that the originator, we call them the originator, who's the handicapper, who's, if you're going to move the screen like that, you're a winner. And there's a group of people, and there always have been, who try to find out what the biggest bettors, the sharpest bettors are betting and follow their plays. They're called followers. And it's a big part of what people who aren't expert handicappers do to try to beat sports. Or some books will be slow to move their lines on other things. They'll call them stale lines. And if they're lazy and they don't do it, you can go in and get a better number than there are in other books. So that's one strategy that people use to try to beat them.
All right. Now we're going to talk later about how you can be a long-term winner at sports betting. But as you say, it's complicated. So now let's get to our Major League Baseball. And this one we have some examples of Moneyline, it's called, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the first one here, this is from Wednesday, June 5th. 3:40 p.m. game. Then you have the game number, the bottom, Philadelphia at San Diego. San Diego's the home team. So the opening line is 112, -112 / -108, which means?
Correct. Which means if you wanted to bet the favorite, which is Philadelphia, because they're across from the team that is the favorite. It's just like, with the point spreads. So whichever team is the money line is across from is the favorite team. So in this case, Philly is -112. San Diego is -108. So if you went in and you wanted to bet, if the opening line was still there, if you wanted to bet on Philly, you'd put up 112 to win 100. If you wanted to bet on San Diego, you put up 108 to win 100. That's the juice, instead of it being even money on both sides.
Okay, and then the 8?
The 8 is the total.
Total,
Just like in football games, it's a total runs scored in a game.
All right, so that's same as under over.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now we go over to Caesars, and it's so their line was -116 and +106.
Yes. So what that's telling you is that from the opener where it was 112, it's 116 now, it's 120 at William Hill. That means that they have moved the line towards Philly. It costs you more to bet on Philly now than it did when it opened.
All right, and below it has 8.5, and then 0 -120.
Yes, 8.5 over. So what they're saying is, sometimes instead of moving the number, they will move the money line, even though it's a total or a point spread. So in this case, if you wanted to bet, see, it opened at 8 and it was getting bet over. They were moving the number to a higher number. So now, if you want to bet at Caesars, you would bet over 8.5. You would lay 120 to win 100. If you wanted under, you would bet 100 to win 100. So the over is favored.
Okay, so now if someone wants to go and they want to make a bet, now on the team, it has J. Arrieta and C. Quantrill. Those are the pitchers?
Those are the pitchers. And when you bet baseball, there's different ways you can bet them. They're called listed pitchers. That means those two, if you specify I want listed pitchers, that means those two pitchers have to start. If they don't, you have no bet. If you say I want an action, it means you have a bet no matter who pitches. But what will happen is, if, let's say, Arrieta doesn't pitch, that would change the line, because the pitcher is the most important factor in a baseball game. So they may change that line if he's out, and all of a sudden San Diego's a favorite. Well, if you had bet action, they're not gonna give you the line you originally betted at. They're gonna give you basically the standard line that's out there. They're gonna change your bet. So what you really want to do if you bet baseball is specify I want listed pitchers, and then you'll know what you're getting.
Oh, sorry. Now, one thing I guess I should ask. So you, and we didn't discuss this, but the line you betted at stays the same. It's not like pari-mutuel betting where you can bet a horse is 2 to 1, then it goes down to even money. You're going to get paid even money.
Yes.
So in sports betting, what you betted at is your
that's what you have.
Definition for winning
or
losing.
So if you bet it and you bet -116, you bet 160 to win 16 to win 100 at Caesars, and the game went up to like -135,
right.
You're still only laying 116, which is good, but it goes both ways.
All right.
One more thing about the totals: if either one of these pitchers doesn't start, the total's no action, and they'll refund your money.
Okay, so now I guess one last question. So if someone wanted to make one of these bets, and they went to the window, do they have to say, I want, game number would be 951, Philadelphia. Do you have to say you want action or pitcher?
Yes, in baseball you do.
Okay,
so you would say, I want the game number 951, Philadelphia, 116 to win 100, and I want listed pitchers. Sometimes they'll ask you, sometimes they won't. But you should specify you want listed pitchers.
If you don't say, you would get action as opposed to listed pitchers?
They will usually, I think they would give you action, or give you listed pitchers most of the time. One way to tell is, look, you should always, if you make a bet on a sports book across the counter and you get a ticket, check your ticket. Make sure it's what you want. because they make mistakes.
Oh, I'm
So
sure.
if you walk away and you look after the game and you thought you had Philly and you had the other side and you up to say, hey, I meant to bet that, they're going to say sorry. Check your tickets before you walk away. One other thing about tickets, it's the best thing now to, if you get a betting ticket, to take a picture of it and keep it on your phone. For one reason, you might lose it. For another reason, these tickets are sometimes printed on thermal paper, which will tend to fade, yes. And if it's not readable, then you have a problem. So take a picture on your phone, and if you lose the ticket, or if it should fade out to where, some people wash them, they leave them in their pants or whatever, they forget to have them, take a picture of the ticket, and if you lose it, go to the sportsbook counter, tell them what happened, show them the picture, and they will do a report, and you won't get paid right there. They'll make sure that nobody else has come to cash that ticket. But once it's expired, which can be from 30 to 180 days, then you will get paid. They will pay it for you.
All right, that's a great idea. I like that.
Yes, yeah, taking pictures is an important thing.
All right, so the numbers that we were talking about today for Major League Baseball and NFL, these lines, can you explain where they came from?
Yes, if you remember, I talked about the Don Best screen, which is basically what these are derivatives of. So this is a screen that you can access for free through LVA Sports, Las Vegas Advisor Sports, LVA Sports. And if once you go to that site, click on current lines, you'll see this grid. You can adjust it to whatever you want. You can have first half lines, second half lines, second half of a game. You got all the different sports. It's very similar to the Don Best screen, but this one's free. The difference being from the expensive Don Best screen is that is up to the second line moves. These are delayed. So if you're a sports bettor that needs to know exactly when lines are moving, you need to pay the money. But most people that we're talking to won't. Okay. So this is a great way to get an idea of what the lines are, where they've moved, what the differences are, and it does it for a bunch of different sports. I find it very useful at half times because you can see what the halftime lines are, and it's just a great tool to use.
Now we had spoken so far about money line and the spread and points, but there's other kind of bets you can make. So one of them is proposition bets. Can you explain what those are?
Yes, proposition bets are derivative bets during a game where you can bet on specific players, specific things to happen, how many field goals will be in a game, all kinds of different things. It's only limited by the imagination of the sports book. And most of them are similar to money lines. There will be a spread on the money line. So let's say you want, okay, we have.
Right, now this was an actual example that I picked up today in the casino for Game 6 of the NBA.
Game 6 of the NBA, so you have Pascal Siakam from Toronto. His point total is 17.5. You can bet it over or under, and you can either lay 110 on either side. So that is known as a prop. There's a lot of different props. 3-point field goals made by Stephen Curry, over 5. That is 110 on each side. So these all are 110. Now there's a very good chance that you picked up this sheet when you go in the book, but these lines have moved. So they can't keep reprinting sheets, so they're going to tell you at the counter, you're going to go up and say, I want Siakam over 17.5, 110 to 100, and they're going to say, sorry, that line's 120 now. So
right,
you have
now I'm sorry, I assume that those boards that they have up all around the sports books, those will have the changing odds?
They will have the changing odds, but they're hard to find sometimes. On a busy day, the boards are big and there's all kinds of numbers.
All right, but you could also ask the guy when you go up to
you can ask him,
the clerk.
And if you think it's the same. But yeah, it's best if you can find it on the board, you can see what the money line is, and then you'll be prepared when you go up there. So it would be the same thing. I want bet 50-61 over 17.5 to win 100.
Okay. Now here's another one, future bets, because now my son, when we came to Las Vegas all the time, he was always bet $20 on the Dolphins to win the Super Bowl.
Yes.
And it was a terrible bet, but if you were a diehard Dolphin fan, that was what you had to do.
Yes.
So maybe you can explain what those future bets are.
Yeah, future bets, again, there's a lot of different forms of them, but essentially you're betting on something to happen in the future. So, self-explanatory, but it can be for like a tennis tournament, it can be for a golf tournament, or it can be a season-long thing, who's going to win the Super Bowl, who's going to win their division, blah, blah, blah. So they're a big winner for casinos for a couple of reasons. Number one, they get to hold your money for the whole season, which is a big thing, and you have to let them hold your money. For another thing, they don't let you bet both sides of it. In other words, most of them don't. They're starting to now, but the money lines are such a spread that it's not worth doing. But they can say, well, I'm going to give you 5-1 on the Dolphins to win the Super Bowl. They're not going to say, well, you can lay 7-1 that they won't win. You only get one side of a bet. So that gives them license to take a big chunk of vigorish out of it. So if the correct line is 20-1 and they're giving you 5-1, obviously you're making a bad bet. However, futures can be fun. You know, for $20, you get to sweat the whole season of games. And if it gets, you know, close to it, like in the hockey game, St. Louis Blues, they were 250-1 before the season started.
Wow.
There was one guy had $400 on him. He won $100,000.
Wow.
So they're fun for people. And sometimes they come in, but if you're trying to make, very few pro bettors bet futures unless they find a line that's way out of whack and offers value.
Well, I remember my son had fun, and he'd get excited when they looked like they were going to have a good season, but then they always went straight down the tubes.
Yeah, I know. But you get.
But he did. He
had
had
fun.
a lot
it's
of fun.
Entertainment for $20.
$20. You know?
Another thing that's popular before a season start is the number of wins that team will have during a season. So let's say Miami is 7 wins, and it'll have a money line on it the same way, and you can bet how many games they'll win that season. If it lands at 7, you push. If it's under, you lose. If it's over, you win. If you bet them over, and you get a season full of fun doing that.
Yeah, so it's you get a lot of value for your money. So
you get a lot of entertainment for your money.
Yeah, a lot of entertainment. maybe not.
Value is a different
value.
Value is a
right.
different term.
Okay.
Let me explain that quickly.
Okay.
What winning sports bettors are looking for is value, which means that when you make your bet, you have an expectation, a positive expectation. So you can search through. There's so many different sports bets out there, but if you have a sharp eye and you're looking for them, you can find value in lines on all kinds of things. So that's what professionals do. And maybe everything's cool and the lines are square and there's nothing to bet, and then an injury will pop up, or a trade will come. A team will acquire a really good player, like Toronto did this year, or Philadelphia did. And a lot of the sports books are slow to move their future bets. Like when Philadelphia picked up Jimmy Butler this year, that was a big addition to them. So a lot of the sports books, the sharp books, went right down from 7-1 to 3-1 to win the East. Well, I found a book that still had 7-1. That offers value because I'm getting more than what the actual, mathematical expectation is. So, yes, value is a very important term to all bettors. You want to find value if you want to try to win in sports betting.
Okay, now that's one other thing I want to ask you when we're done with these bets here. How do you win? All right, so let's just do one last one here, and we do an analysis in the book each year of the casino advantage on the various games. And sports betting is relatively low, except there's one part of sports betting that's relatively high, actually very high, and that's parlay cards. So perhaps you can explain what parlay cards are and why they would probably be a bad bet if you want to bet on sports.
Okay, parlays are making one bet that has multiple parts to it, and you need to win all those parts to win. So if it's a 2-team parlay and you got the Giants -6 and over 38, and you say I want to parlay the Giants to the over for however much money, and if they win, let's say you bet $50, they usually pay you 13. Okay, now the real odds would be 15, so that's their big built in. And it's called parlays off the board. You walk up to the counter, they will give you the parlay on whatever number is currently on the board. Parlay cards are printed earlier in the week, and they don't keep reprinting them. So a lot of times the lines move. The same line that was originally will be on the parlay card. So really sharp bettors will go around and look at parlay cards and find lines that are off. Let's say a quarterback got hurt for Green Bay, and instead of being -2, now they're +3. Well, okay, you get +3 on the other side, and the quarterback's not in there, and you're getting a great bet. Parlay cards are on the outs because the sportsbook managers know that they're getting beat by sharp players who are doing these things. So a lot of places have eliminated them, and now they call them parlay sheets, and you walk up and you get the price that's on the board at the time, which is a really bad bet because parlay cards pay less than a parlay off the board. That's one of the things they do. So instead of getting 13-5, you might get 12-5. Or on a 4-teamer, instead of getting 12-1, you might get 10-1. So they take their edge there, but they found with the really sharp guys that they still can't beat them. So I talked to a sportsbook manager the other day, and he said, I figured they have about 2 years and they're going to be finished. Some of the new books aren't even offering them.
Now it's interesting because when we would do the stats each year, every year it was like 17% house edge on parlay cards. But when I think of, not being a sports bettor, when I think of parlay cards, I think back when you had to pick like 5 teams. You pick 3 teams or 4 teams or 5 teams or 6 teams, and the odds if it's 50-50. They gave you very bad odds.
Yes, they pay quite a bit less than you should, and that's why they hold so much. It's called the casino hold, because the average Joe loves parlay cards because they're easy. You pick them up, you pick your teams, you get bang for your buck. It's easier than going to the counter and saying I want a 14 parlay with these 4 teams or whatever. So parlay cards are very popular among people that just want a chance to win a lot for betting a little, and they don't really care about the lines because they're not sophisticated, and that's why parlay cards win so much.
All right,
for
but
the house.
It's interesting that you threw that in. So sharp bettors could actually make money on
Yes.
parlay cards.
Yes.
Okay, I was not aware of that.
Yes.
All right, very interesting. So speaking of winning, okay, so now we're coming to the important part. Now we've spoken about how a sportsbook makes its money and the different bets you can make, and hopefully people understand now how to go to their favorite sportsbook and read the lines up there or on the sheets, and go up and make their bets. But now, how does someone make money? And if you want to make money as a playing blackjack, and tell people, well, you got to learn to count cards.
Exactly.
So it can be done. Now, I do know that there are people who are professional sports bettors that can make a living at it. But so for the average guy, I guess, number one, what does it take to be able to make money consistently as a sportsbook bettor? And number two, if someone doesn't have the skills, what can they do to possibly increase their skills or that to be better at their sportsbook betting?
Okay.
Don't forget that you can see more of our educational gambling videos on our YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com/American Casino Guide.